Okay, so for this case, alam naman natin na before we proceed with integration by parts, so again, magkasama itong exponential and trigonometric function. But then before we start with that, we have to use the identity muna na cosine of A cosine of B that is equal to 1/2 cosine of A minus B plus cosine or 1/2 cosine of A plus B. So, gagamitin mo natin yung identity na to para i-simplify itong expression na to. So, that becomes e raised to negative x and then, so maging 1/2 and then multiply this with cosine of 2x plus cosine of 4x dx. Okay? And then, we can just write 1/2 the integral of e raised to negative x cosine 2x dx and then plus 1/2 the integral of e raised to negative x cosine 4x dx. Okay? Now, to deal with this each expression, we couldn't use yung parang, I mean, we'll be using integration by parts pero hindi natin kayang gawin na yung isang uv minus the integral of v du lang yung gagawin natin. Kasi, if we would be looking at this e raised to negative x as well as cosine 2x, kahit anong differentiate natin dito, hindi ito matatapos, di ba? As well as this one, kahit anong differentiate, hindi rin matatapos. Di ba sabi natin dun sa isang rule, I think it's rule 4 or whatever, sabi dun, pag meron kayong ganito, you have to make sure na you look at those cases wherein babalik ka dun sa original expression. And the easiest way to deal with that is to construct a table. So that is, we'll be using our tabular method in this case. So, in tabular method naman is napakasimple lang. All you have to do is to construct a table, okay, with 3 columns. And the first column would be your sign. Then the second column would be your derivatives. And then the third one would be your integrals. So, ganun lang naman siya, no? And then, sabihin lang nun, lahat ng ating mga sagot is dito natin siya ilalagay. So, you start with sign. So, that is, let's say, sign. Okay? We have here the derivative or just d. So this means na dito mag-start yung ating u function natin, no? And then this is your integral. You start with positive, negative. So halinhinan lang yung ating sign dito, but you start with positive. Okay. So now after constructing the table, we can now plug in the values, no? Pero you start with the derivative and then the integrals. So pwede rin to, you can call this as well yung I natin. Now remember, sa pagpili ng derivatives and integrals in this case, we'll be using again yung ating isolate. So considering this priority acronym, we know very well that we will be prioritizing our trigonometric function instead of our exponential. So under this, I'll be starting with the first term. Ito muna tayo, no? Not really yung kasama yung 1/2, but this one lang, yung integrand natin na to. So, from that, kung mapansin natin, yung derivative natin would be yung cosine 2x doon tayo mag-i-start. So, this is yung starting point natin. So, start with this, and then yung integral would be e raised to negative x. So, ganyan siya, no? Okay. Let's start by differentiating. Remember, this is just alternating sign. So, hindi natin yung gagalawin, no? Let's start differentiating for this case. What is the derivative of cosine 2x? So, that is negative sine 2x times 2. So, that is times 2. Okay? And what is the integral of e raised to negative x? That is negative e raised to negative x. Okay? Now, you proceed again. So, tutuloy tayo ng tutuloy hanggat hindi natin napapazero ang derivative natin. Now, for this case kasi, hindi naman talaga magsi-zero yan. So, for that case, we'll be stopping when we'll be able to obtain yung cosine 2x derivative and yung integral would be e raised to negative x. So, kailangan nating ma-achieve yung ganito pa rin na form. So, ganun yung mangyayari dapat. It's either mag-zero to or makuha natin yung gantong values sa derivative and sa integral natin. So, let's proceed with this, Di ba pag dinifferentiate natin, we have cosine of 2x, pero that is still negative, and then times 2 pa, so that becomes negative 4 cosine 2x. And then this one becomes positive e raised to negative x. Now, can we already stop from this? So, the answer is yes. Kasi, meron na tayong cosine 2x and then e raised to negative x. Though, hindi siya 1, kasi di ba dapat parang kung isipin nyo, baka saktong-sakto. So, hindi naman necessarily saktong-sakto. Pwede magkaroon dito ng mga values. But then again, we're just looking at this function, yung cosine 2x and then e raised to negative x. So, okay lang yun. So, from this, you stop. Okay? And then, you draw diagonal lines to indicate na we'll be multiplying those expressions. So, how do we write this ba? After doing this and then stopping dun sa condition na nag-equal na tayo dun sa ating original integrand, you can copy the integrand, that is the integrand of e raised to negative x cosine 2x. So, hindi ko muna isusulat yung 1/2 just to show you na dito lang kasi tayo nagsimula, hindi kasama yung 1/2 kasi nasa labas yun ng ating integration symbol. So, from this is equal to yung product ng ating pinag-diagonal na terms. So, that is negative e raised to negative x cosine of 2x. Okay, and then you just have to employ or copy the sign, so that's positive, kaya negative to kasi dahil itong negative e raised to negative x. Now you proceed with the next, so that is minus the negative of this product, that becomes positive. Okay, positive e raised to negative x, that is may 2 pa doon, 2 and then sine 2x. Okay, so hopefully nakasunod kayo doon. Minus negative, that is positive, and then e raised to negative x times 2, so that's 2 e raised to negative x and then sine 2x. Now how about this one? So wala na yan kasi hindi natin siya kayang i-multiply kasi nag-stop na tayo dito sa 4th row natin. Now from that, you start with the very last portion ng ating integral and then you draw another arrow going to the derivative that is adjacent to it or yung katabi niya mismo. And then from that, you'll be using the sign that is plus and then you add yung product din nila, no? Product din nila, e raised to negative x and then so we have parang 4. So, parang minus kasi subtraction to and then cosine of 2x. But then again, hindi siya add kundi kailangan natin lagyan ng integration symbol. Now, ito kasi pwedeng sa unahan ng 4, pwedeng sa after kasi constant lang naman to. So, ganun lang siya kasimple, no? Pag diagonal yung ating pinag-product, kailangan kokopihin mo lang sila as products. Pero when it comes to this, na nag-stop na tayo, you have to go back to that final integral and then yung adjacent niya na derivative, you have to take the antiderivative of the product of them. So, ganito yung ating magiging final form for this case. Now, what is the essence of this expression? No? Now, remember, if you'd be looking closely at our given, as well as this last term, diba they have the same integrand? Now, integrand procedures can also be done in integration, diba? Or integral calculus. We can transpose this back to this portion dun sa left side ng ating equation. And then by algebra, we know very well na we can just add this kasi diba minus 4 to, so that becomes plus 4. So from this, we have 5 times the integral of e raised to negative x cosine of 2x dx. Okay, so hopefully ay nagets nyo yun. Kasi negative 4 plus 1 would be 5 of that integrand. And then this is equal to negative, just this expression. Okay, so kapahin ko lang yun. Ay, sign pala yun. Okay? And then with this, I'll be dividing both sides by 5 so that I'll be left out only with this expression. So therefore, yung expression na to is equal to 1/5. Okay, 1/5 negative e raised to x cosine of 2x and then plus 2 e raised to negative x sine of 2x. Okay? And this is your answer for the derivative, for the antiderivative of this first expression. Okay, so I hope it was clear to you. So, ganun lang yung nangyari. In short, hindi sa lahat ng pagkakataon yung ating integration by parts is kailangan mong i-take yung antiderivative nitong latter term. Kasi what if itong latter term is just the same as this one, yung integrand nila. So, pwede mong i-perform yung operation na yun by just transposing this final expression to that the left side. Pero, ang problema dun is that this is not always the case. Kasi kung halimbawa, algebraic to, or hindi siya periodic function na umuulit-ulit lang ng derivative. So, hindi to pwedeng i-apply. And usually, this is just applicable for those mga exponential function and then mga trigonometric function. So, sadly, ganun lang siya applicable. But then again, it's another operation that we can do whenever we have such kind of expression na pwede na apply. Okay? So, therefore, yung first term natin, the derivative would be 1/2. So, itong 1/2, dito yun galing, no? Tapos may 1/5 pa dito. So, that is 1/10. So, 1/10. Okay, and then, negative e raised to x cosine of 2x, and then plus 2 e raised to negative x sine of 2x. Okay? That is for our first term. And then we'll be doing the same thing for our second term. Dito naman. So, I'll be deleting this na and as well as this one siguro. Kasi, we'll be using yung mga different naman natin na variables dito. Pero, we have the same concept as well. So, hopefully doon din tayo mag-stop. Di ko nabubura yung stop. Kasi, kung mapansin nyo naman yung form, parang same lang din naman sila na. So, hopefully, dyan din tayo mag-stop. Now, again, using isolate, our u function would be cosine 4x. Let's, na lang. Use the same color. So, we have cosine of 4x. And then, ano ba yung ating integral? So, it's e raised to negative x. Now, you start with the process. The derivative of cosine 4x is negative sine 4x, pero remember, we have times 4. Okay, so yan. And then the antiderivative is negative e raised to negative x. Now, how about the derivative? So this becomes negative 16 cosine of 4x, and then positive e raised to negative x. Since we already have cosine 4x e raised to negative x dito, so they're just the same. So pwede nating i-copy yung ating expression. So that's the integral. Hindi ko isasama yung nauna doon, or nasa unahan. This is equal to just copy yung ating mga diagonal, multiply negative e raised to negative x cosine of 4x, and then minus negative, so that's plus e raised to negative x, or 4 plus 4 e raised to negative x sine of 4x. Okay, and then finally we have the negative, diba, minus, diba, minus the integral of e raised to negative x, or 16. So, natin is 16 na lang. So, minus 16 the integral of e raised to negative x cosine of 4x. Okay? So, I'll be transposing this. So, you'll be having 1 plus 16. So, that is 17. So, from this, we have 17, the integral of e raised to negative x cosine of 4x. And then that is equal to negative e raised to negative x cosine of 4x, and then this one. Okay, and then dividing this all by 17, we'll be able to get the final result for this. So that is 1 over 17 e raised to negative x cosine of 4x, and then plus 4 e raised to negative x sine of 4x. Okay? And then finally, our answer for this case would be this one. Diba 1 over 10, multiply natin yung 1/2 dito. So, magkakaroon din tayo ng 1/2 multipliers. That's 1 over 34. And then, e raised to negative x cosine of 4x. And then, plus 4 e raised to negative x sine of 4x. And then, plus c. Okay, so this is your final answer for this problem. So, mapapansin nyo, nangyari lang din is nag-apply tayo ng same concept, but then again, ang nangyari is nagtatranspose tayo ng ating integrand. That's the essence of having tabular integration. For cases wherein we have repeating derivatives and integral. Pero kung ito yung nag-zero yung ating derivative, you might notice na na puro diagonal na lang yan. Wala tayong lipat-lipat ng integrand. So, if you would be looking dun sa ating hand, the answer is actually factored out in its, in its LCD, I think. So, kung 170 yun, that is 34 times 5 yung LCD dito, no? That's why. Kaya, naka-multiply sa 1/2 yung ating mga or 1 over 5 yung ating first expression. Ay, so, kung gusto namang i-check yan, let's say for example, yung sin 2x natin. So, di ba yung sin 2x natin is 2 sin 2x? So, di ba that will be 1/5. Okay, so for this, you have to divide 34 by 170, so that is 1/5 as well. So, yun, same lang naman yung nakuha natin na sagot, no? It's just that, same lang din naman nga siya. And I think meron ako ditong, maling na kopya. This one should be negative. Hindi ko ata nakopya ng tama to. Oo nga. Kasi diba negative to. So, this should be negative as well. So, yan. Negative. Kasi, based on the handout din, parang dalawang negative dito. Okay. And then, yun nga. Dalawang positive. So, I think tama. Correct na yung ating mga signs. So, yun na yung ating final answer. And if you want to expand, you can obtain the answer in your handout. So, kung paano ako nag-expand, actually, minsan, kaya ako to na-expand dito sa handout, or ba't ko sinisimplify sa handout, kasi kasya siya doon. Pero pag hindi kasya, pag hindi ko sin-expand, minsan hindi nagkakasya yung mahabang answer. Syempre, nagtitipid ako sa space. Pero, for this case, kung ganyan na yung sagot nyo, okay na yan. Huwag nyo nang galawin. Basta, you can always simplify if you're sure about your answer, but if you're not, then just leave the answer as it is. Okay? Pero yung common na i-add, syempre, add nyo naman yun na baka constants lang, tapos din nyo pa yan i-add. So, huwag naman ganun. Okay, so I think we're down with the last, but then again, na-discuss ko na naman lahat ng method sa special integration techniques ng integration by parts, pati yung tabular method. So I think this will be the last, yung ating number 13. At ito yung medyo matrabahong gawin kasi we have this combination. Now, to tell you something about our integration, usually we don't mix yung ating logarithmic functions with the inverse trigonometric function because it's mostly ano ba tawag dito? Hindi kasi siya it's not common to appear kasi daming restrictions itong function na to. For example, you're not allowed to have 0 here as well as your value in radians. You can't have any value that's greater than 1. So basically, yung restriction ng x is very, parang konti lang talaga yung values niya, no? But then, in cases like this, when we have this kind of expression, what do we do with this kind of expression? So, if we do tabular method and then have this being u, diba? Can we stop at a point wherein wala na tayong gagawin? And the answer is still no because this is 1 over x and then yung 1 over x, alam naman natin na paulit-ulit lang yun. Hahaba lang siya ng hahaba, hindi tayo mag-e-end. And there is no way na bumalik tayo dun sa ln x cosine inverse of x kasi this is a very complicated integrand. So, hindi tayo babalik siya. Hindi naman tayo periodic So, we'll be using integration by parts pero hindi tayo magta-tabular method in this case. Now, I'll be using yung ating ILIT just to use yung, just to know yung priority natin na u function. And from this, di ba sabi natin, meron tayong inverse function, logarithmic, algebraic, trigonometric, exponential. So from this, ang aking u would be the inverse function agad kasi that is the very first one. Now, do you know that in other textbooks, they use Lie8? So, if you'll be using this, diba, mauuna yung logarithmic. So, ba't kaya ganun? Kasi nga, ang reason for this is yung IL and LI natin is very rare or very rare to exist in the same expression. That's why, kahit magkabaliktad to, parang okay lang. Pero for this case kasi, since IL8 na ginagamit natin, di gamitin natin yung, yung inverse function just to take this as the very first function natin. So that will be dv would be equal to ln of x dx, okay? And then how about our du? So du, remember, inverse cosine of x, that gives us -1 over the square root of 1 minus x squared dx. So kung tandaan nyo, ganito yung form natin. Pag cosine inverse, that's just negative. And then, sabi natin, for v, ano ba yung derivative or antiderivative ng ating ln of x dx? Now, from this, para mahanap yung ating v, di ba alam natin, we have to apply ating integration by parts. So, from this, mag-integration by parts ulit tayo. And sabi natin, for this kind of integration by parts, when you have a function that is, parang isang function lang siya, and then dx is the rest, you let u yung ating function here na ln of x lang talaga siya. So that will be the integral of ln of x dx. Okay? And then yung ating u dito would be ln of x and then yung dv would be dx. Okay? du would be equal to 1 over x dx and then v would be equal to x. So from this, uv minus the integral of v du, so that is dx. This gives us x ln of x minus x. as the antiderivative of ln of x. So we can just write this from here na ang ating antiderivative would be x ln of x minus x. Okay? And then we can remove this. Okay, so from that pa lang, first medyo complicated na agad, no? And then we proceed with the next, or the expression. Now from this expression, we could say that we have uv, so that is cosine inverse of x times x ln of x minus x. Okay, so that's the first term. Then minus the integral of v du. So that is the integral of x ln of x minus x square root of 1 minus x squared dx. Now the problem lies here. Paano ba natin ito ini-integrate itong mga gantong case? That's x ln of x minus x divided by square root of 1 minus x squared. Now, what I'll be trying to do here is that I'll be distributing yung ating integral sign. That is the integral of x ln of x, okay, and then divided by the square root of 1 minus x squared dx, okay, and then this becomes plus, kasi ito minus, plus the integral of x over square root of 1 minus x squared dx. Now for this case, wala na akong problema kasi I can integrate this, diba? Dun sa ating rules before. This is x squared, the derivative is 2x, so pwede natin siyang applyan nung ating mga use substitution or whatever. So ito, pwede natin i-check to, mahanap natin ang integral yan. But how about this one? That's x ln of x square root of 1 minus x squared. So what could be done to address this issue? Kasi hindi siya basic, diba? Hindi siya madaling integrate. Now, what I'll be doing is that I'll try to use yung ating integration by parts again. So, how do we perform integration by parts then? So, dito, wala na tayong masyadong specific rule na pwedeng isipin, no? But then again, sabi natin, diba, sa iLate natin, we will be prioritizing logarithmic functions rather than our algebraic functions. So, from this, our IBP, we have u. So, yung u natin would be equal. So, gawin natin ibang kulay. From that, our u would be equal to our ln of x, okay, and then your du would be, of course, 1 over x dx, okay. And then how about our dv? So dv natin would be, from this, we have x over the square root of 1 minus x squared dx, okay. And then yung ating v would be, ano ba yung ating v from this case? So yung ating v is also the antiderivative of this expression, correct? Kasi x over square root of 1 minus x squared yung natira. So, upon finding ito, we can just put yung answer dito, and that's also the same answer for this case. So, let's find the antiderivative of this x over square root of 1 minus x squared. Now, if I let u equal to 1 minus x squared, okay, I can determine the value of du that is a negative 2x dx, and therefore if I just need x over dx, that is negative 1/2 du is equal to x dx. So this can be written in the form of the integral of negative 1/2 the integral of du over the square root of u, and in this case, diba, that is equal to negative 1/2 the integral of u raised to negative 1/2 du. Therefore, the antiderivative of this expression would simply be u raised to 1/2, that is square root of u, and then divided by 1/2, so that is plus or times 2. So, from that, we could see na maka-cancel out to, and then magiging magiging positive. I mean, magiging still pala negative pa rin siya. So, from that, we could say that this is equal to u raised to 1/2. Okay, so you can, negative u raised to 1/2. So, you can just check, pag differentiate natin to, we have 1/2 u raised to negative 1/2, and then negative. So from this, our answer would be equal to negative 1 minus x squared, or square root of 1 minus x squared. You can counter check that by simply differentiating yung 1 minus x squared, and you'll be able to see na that is times negative 2x. So times 1/2, maka-cancel out yun, and then x lang yung matitira sa taas. Okay, so therefore, our answer for this case is negative square root of 1 minus x squared. And then, ito na rin yung maging sagot for our antiderivative in this expression. But then again, hindi pa tayo tapos ito sa first term. We have to perform yung ating integration by parts. So, from that integration by parts, okay, so, pwede natin siguro itong burahin. So, from that integration by parts, we could say na we have something like uv, so that is ln of x times square root of, or negative 1 minus x squared, and then minus the integral of v du, so that is square root of 1 minus x squared divided by x dx. Okay, so finally, our expression calls us to take the antiderivative of this expression. And basically, meron na tayong mga sagot, no? If we could rewrite yung ating mga sagot na initially, we have this expression as well as this one para dito sa expression na to. So, pwede natin siyang i-write na. Siguro, sulat ko na lang siya somewhere here. So, dito muna, no? Sulat natin. Wait. Lalagyan ko na lang ng balloon yung ating mga initial na sagot. Ito. This one. So, ito, galing siya dito sa ating integration by parts. This one, square root of 1 minus x squared, is not the answer for this, but the answer for this, expression, di ba? And what we'll have to do is to find na lang itong expression na to. But then again, yung first niya is ito. So, kasama na yan automatic sa ating answer. Then again, we have to employ yung negative sign niya. So, huwag natin kakalimutan yon. And then, ito kasi, dinistribute ko na yung negative. So, wala tayong problema dito. So, okay na to. And then, ito na lang, finally, yung ating kailangang hanapan ng sagot. How do we solve for this, diba? That's square root of 1 minus x squared all over x. So, ano lang to? You can just use your u substitution for this case. Or you can use your trigonometric substitution. So, siguro to spice things up, no? I'll be using trigonometric substitution to deal with this. So, if I let x is equal to sine theta, I'll be having dx is equal to cosine theta d theta, okay? And then from this expression, we have the integral of the square root of 1 minus sine squared theta, and then cosine theta d theta divided by sine theta. And then from this, diba, we could say that that is actually cosine squared theta d theta divided by sine theta. So, saan ko nakuha to, diba? Alam naman natin na this is sine squared, pero taking the root of that, that's cosine. And then cosine squared divided by sine theta. And then how do you deal with this? Cosine squared theta over sine theta. So, you could just use your identity, 1 minus sine squared theta divided by sine theta d theta, so maging ganyan siya, and then you take the antiderivative, so that is the antiderivative of 1 over sine, that is cosecant theta, and then minus the antiderivative of sine theta d theta. So ganyan na lang matitira. And therefore, from this case, we could say na yung ating antiderivative would be ln of cosecant theta minus cotangent theta, and then minus cosine theta. Okay, so yan yung magiging natin in terms of theta. But then again, we have to express that in terms of x, diba? So, kung ganon, we do another triangle that is theta, and then yung ating x would be here kasi sine theta to. Then we have 1, so this is square root of 1 minus x squared. So, looking at this, we have ln of 1 over x, okay, because that's the reciprocal, and then minus cotangent, so that is square root of 1 minus x squared all over x, okay, and then minus cosine, so that is square root of 1 minus x squared. Okay, so that is our answer for this particular expression. So we can now rewrite that, pero syempre we have to incorporate yung minus sign dito. So I can now remove this, diba? And then finally, we have minus ln of 1 over x minus square root of 1 minus x squared all over x. Then, so pag dinisable natin yung minus, magiging plus na to, and then square root of 1 minus x squared. Or we can rewrite this in terms of minus ln of square root of, 1 minus square root of 1 minus x squared all over x, and then plus square root of 1 minus x squared. So, that is our answer for the last expression dito. So, pag in-add natin to dito, as well as this one, and then, sabi natin again, di ba, ito, we have to incorporate yung kanyang negative sign. So, from this, our final answer will yield us to, medyo madami-dami to, no? Pero, hopefully tayo magkalito sa sign. We can now write our final answer. So, kukunin natin isa-isa lahat. So, we have cosine, inverse cosine of x multiplied with x ln of x minus x. And then from this, the expression would yield to this distributed numerator. And then yung derivative, antiderivative would be this one, pero negative sila. So, I will be interchanging yung ating signs. That becomes plus, okay, plus ln of x square root of 1 minus x squared, and then this becomes positive ln of 1 minus square root of 1 minus x squared over x, and then minus square root of 1 minus x squared. But then again, we also have to incorporate this, that is plus this answer that is actually minus square root of 1 minus x squared. Okay, and then finally we have the answer for this case, which is actually plus. Ay, so tama na pala kasi pa-plus na pala to. Sorry, baliktad pala ako. Ay, wait. So, ganyan. Tama pala, minus. So, minus dito and then minus din dito. So, we have, pwede natin actually pagsamahin tong dalawang to. So, magiging 2 na siya. Minus 2 squared of 1 minus x squared. Okay? Parang ang labo nito. Bahin natin yung kulay. Ito. So, cosine inverse of x, x ln of x minus x, plus ln of x squared of okay, plus c. Ito mas okay siyang tingnan. Okay, so that is our answer for this problem. So, yun, medyo mahaba-haba yung item na to. Ginamit na natin lahat ng alam natin, no? Nag-integration by parts, trigonometric substitution. So, yun. And let's check kung nakuha natin yung tamang sagot sa handout. Haba-haba natin, mali pala, no? Inverse cosine of x, x ln of x minus x, and then plus ln of x, and then square root of 1 minus x squared, plus ln of 1 minus, okay? So, minus x, okay. So, minus, ayun, minus ln. Yung ln of x, kaya minus yun, kasi i-distribute itong portion na to. I-distribute natin itong portion na to dito, sa atin. So, yun. Kaya naging minus ln of x. And then, plus 2. Meron tayong different signs dito. Let's check again. So, makes sense. Kasi itong portion na to, that is VDU. So, minus VDU, that is actually, plus na. Kasi, negative nga pala to eh. So, tama. So, this becomes, tama naman pala yun. So, this becomes negative. Ito yung mababago dito. And then, this becomes positive. Okay, so paki-correct na lang. Tama yung nasa handout. Ako yung mali dito sa portion na to. So, di ko napansin yun. So, tanong yun, parang isang sign lang na nakamali tayo din. Na iba na yun. Though, lang naman, symbol lang na iba dito. So, ito plus. That's why ito magiging plus. This becomes minus. So, this becomes, ito magiging plus na rin. Ito plus. Tas plus na rin yung ito. Minus pa rin siya, pero pag in-add mo na siya, magiging plus na siya. That's why magiging 2 na to. So, yun. Ganun yung nangyari. But then again, yung process and the rest of the are just the same. Okay. So, that's it for integration by parts. And I hope na natutunan nyo yung from the easiest to the most complicated cases. And by the way, ito na yung pinaka-complicated case na lumalabas sa integration by parts. Magkasamang inverse and logarithmic functions. So, ayun, hopefully yung iba dito is masagutan nyo kasi sinagutan ko na yung mga pinakamahaba dito, no? So, hopefully is answer nyo rin yung the rest. Kasi natira sa inyo is medyo maikli lahat to. Okay, so from that, let's proceed to the last.